Public Q&A presents AskReddit question. Formerly suicidal redditors, what's something that kept you alive a little while longer and helped you to get through the dark times in your lives? I called someone I barely knew a couple of days before I planned it to basically unload what I couldn't say to those closest to me. It sounds backwards, I know, but I wasn't really thinking straight back then. I don't think they understood the reason to the call because we shifted to talking about roommates, and I had a good laugh for the first time in a while. I decided after we hung up that if a stranger could make me smile, that I wanted to try to meet those who could make me happier, and hopefully be that person for someone else. A year later, and I can happily say I am better and enjoying life. I found that the only real person though that can make me happy was myself. I just needed to give him a chance. That person that I originally called, I am still in contact with them, but haven't told them how much they helped me that day yet, mostly out of being nervous, lol. I hope to repay them though with never leaving their side, because they came to mine without even realizing it, and I am forever grateful. My advice to anyone making this far, my response, lol, is it doesn't cost you anything to listen and be nice. Someday you may help someone more than you will ever realize. It makes sense. Talking to people close to you is very hard, because you care a lot about their opinion of you. You could worry them or scare them, or you could get a reaction you didn't want to get. Talking to strangers is much easier because they don't have a bond with you and don't expect anything from you. The wall of isolation is nice and you can speak openly. I am very happy you made it, and I follow your advice closely, always try to help however I can. You don't have to tell them if you don't want to, or if you're not ready. You might never be ready, and that's okay too. What's important is that you've found a friend in them, and you're a good friend to them. Here's to happier tomorrows. 3. The few friends who still stayed in contact with me. They were the small glimmer of light who kept me in this world. For me it was my nieces. They were babies when I started having suicidal thoughts. But I kept thinking, they'll never get to know me if I kill myself. I would think of them saying, I have 2 aunts on my dad's side, but one of them killed herself. I didn't want them to say that. Now, I don't really have a relationship with them because I don't have a relationship with my brother, but at least there's the possibility of one in the future. I have kind of a similar situation. My aunt on my dad's side killed herself. I have never known her, but every single person in my family who knew her said I resemble her in every way, from looks to her introversion. It's just really sad that I couldn't know her. I sometimes think she would have understood me, because no one in my family does. And even though I haven't met her, I miss her. I was suicidal and taking Xanax, but I took too much on accident. I could feel a weight on my chest type of feeling. I was scared shitless from it. The day after, when I finally felt like I was able to do something, I adopted a puppy. She's been my reason to get up in the morning for over a year. I am so glad that caring for a dog helped you in that way. I struggle a lot with suicidal thoughts, and I have pretty severe bipolar disorder. I want so desperately to adopt a dog because I know it will improve my mental health significantly. Dogs have always had such a huge impact on my life. Every day I almost drive to a shelter and pick up a dog. Every day I look online for adoptable puppies. It feels like my heart is yearning for them. But I can't adopt because I am in an incredible amount of debt, and have lost my job to my mental health, and applied for disability benefits, which was denied. No income. So I have no options. And sometimes thinking about that makes me feel even worse, because I know what will make me better, but I can't justify the expense. I lost everything in the pandemic, and in this horrible stage of my life. And I just have to be dogless and lonely because of it. Breaks my heart. If you have extra time, you should check to see if your local shelter has volunteer opportunities. The shelters in my area are always looking for people to help walk and care for their dogs. It's not the same as owning a dog full-time, but you might really enjoy it. Hopefully getting some pup time in will tide you over until you're able to adopt. This is actually a wonderful idea. Thank you so much. And happy cake day. My cat found me in the bush in the back of my house at 3 a.m. and wouldn't leave me alone. She headbutted me and rubbed into my legs as I stood there with the knife trying to get her to tuck away. Had her for 20 years until she passed 2 years ago. Something about her that night broke me out of the crushing darkness momentarily and allowed me to get therapy to deal with the problems. Love you, kiss. My cat was the same. I went through a really bad period, and every time I committed to ending things, she would just be right there cuddling and purring and refusing to leave me alone. She would put her paw on my arm and dig her claws in just enough to make me look at her. She saved my life a few times doing that. I finally cleaned my life up and things are better now. But when she passed, I had her paw tattooed on my arm, so she stays with me and still reminds me from time to time that there's always someone out there that understands. And I swear sometimes when I do get depressed I can feel her claws on my arm. It's amazing to me that of all of the people I have known, my husband, my family, it was a cat that was able to connect with me. My 9-year-old daughter. About 18 mths ago, I was in a very bad place, but I am a single dad, and I would not do anything to hurt my daughter. Hey, so I have actually been the 9-year-old daughter. Don't do it. Me too. I found a suicide note from my father, tucked away on his laptop, when I was searching for games around the age of 9. I remember calling him and crying and begging him not do it. He claimed he had no idea what I was talking about, but I know what I found, and what I read left no questions. He even described what I was going to inherit from him, and why he was giving it to me. I get so sad thinking about it. But now, as an adult and a mom, it's crushing to think of what he must have felt hearing his youngest daughter begging him not to kill himself. I am wondering if maybe I was his reason. I am sorry, but this made me cry. He's alive and well today, and seemingly living his best life. We have an okay relationship too, not extremely close, but we talk and he's an awesome grandpa. Don't cry. Thanks. Sometimes it is hard, but between my daughter and the dog I cope most of the time. There is very little support, and my biggest fear is that I will get sick. She's very lucky to have you. I hope you find peace someday. That's powerful, man. Keep fighting. She deserves it. My cat helped me to keep going. Unfortunately, she passed away. But I keep going with her in mind. What has helped me is to keep my mind busy at all times. I work on my YouTube videos or paint a lot. It keeps me focused on just that. I am still depressed and suicidal, but haven't had an episode, as I call them, for some months now, except some days. Mood. When I was in high school, my 3 pets kept me alive. I wanted to stay in the world with them. Sadly, they have all since passed away now. My 3 current pets help me, and I love them to bits, but it hurts in an indescribable way for the 3 who originally kept me alive to no longer be alive when I am. I adopted again when my Titan passed away. He kept me alive. Every breath I take with him not alive hurts. Like he did so much for me, and in the end, I couldn't save him from death. All I could do was hold him and say I was sorry, and that I loved him. Losing pets is indescribably awful. It's the inevitable price we pay for all the years of love they have to give us. Even with how much this hurts, I could never wish I never knew him. He was my baby boy till the end, and I am grateful I have thousands of pictures to remember him by. Came to say the same thing. The thought of my cat having to go back to the Humane Society, and not understanding what was going on was enough to keep me going more than once. Fuck, I am crying, that's what kept me going so far, Oswell. The guilt if I failed and everyone found out. I have heard some horror stories about people who survive. Like that they go through extreme pain, or they are permanently damaged from it and stuff. There's even stories of people surviving gunshots to the head. I always had the mentality that if I attempt it, I need to be certain it will work. But I never had time to do the research to make sure it was like 99% going to work, because the research involved checking out locations hours away. So I never had time. And then luckily I stopped wanting to do it, so there was no need for any plan or research. Found a website recently that ranks the top 50 ways to commit suicide or potential pain levels, Oregon, and effectiveness. Fun fact, opiate overdose isn't as effective as you'd think. Death by train is fairly unreliable, and most likely just leaves you permanently disabled. You kind of bounce off the front grille, and don't get run over, plus it will actually take you up to 15 minutes to actually die. And gunshots to the head also aren't instant. You are still alive, and in pain for 2 to 10 minutes depending on accuracy of the shot. Maybe I am just a coward, but after reading through it, none of them sounded like what I was looking for. Something peaceful. Just go to sleep kind of thing. No go on anything I could possibly find. So here I am still. There's this little Dorothy Parker poem, Resume, that I used to repeat to myself in my worst moments, and crazy as it sounds, it really helped and always makes me laugh. Razors pain you, rivers are damp, acids stain you, and drugs cause cramp. Guns aren't lawful, nooses give, gas smells awful, you might as well live. This is literally the only reason I haven't done it yet. I don't have friends or family or anyone else. I would fuck up offing myself like everything else. So I am stuck here in a very miserable limbo. It sounds like you have people that you care about and who care about you. I hope you get to spend some time hanging out with them and enjoy yourself soon. I didn't want my parents to feel like it was their fault. That they failed in raising me. I couldn't do that to them. I failed and have to live with the scars. Knowing that my mom wouldn't have someone to walk her down the aisle when she married my now stepfather. My dad had died 3 years prior, and I think it would have broken her completely. Hurting people was mine, too, even if it's just a janitor or cop. I don't want to make sad work for anyone ever. Yep. Either someone's going to find your body, or someone is always going to wonder what happened if they don't find it. I have a major dissociative disorder, and have had a few of my dissociates have suicidal thoughts and actions. I am glad they didn't work, and it still scares me. Like, I am okay with being here. It hurts to know parts of me are so not okay, that they don't want to live anymore. When you do truly think about it, the negative always outweighs the positive, but being here always adds more positive to outweigh the negative. It'd be weird if I died and still had packages coming in the mail, so I try to keep something coming that I can look forward to. I used to really enjoy going to gigs, so when I was struggling with depression, I would make sure I had tickets to see a band I liked. On the particularly bad days, I would think it'd be silly to do anything before I see them play. Seems a bit silly to write, but it worked for me, I guess. Have something to look forward to, whatever it is. I did this too. I would make far-out plans for shows, and would plan to kill myself afterwards, but then I would find another show to go to. I am not into the same bands anymore, but I got a dog and she healed my soul. I have been doing that too lately. But shit gets lost in the mail, and isn't that kind of pathetic? Just questions I ask myself. It seems like there should be some sort of subscription service for this. This is a good idea. Just a little something in the snail mail, every day. I am living in this feeling entirely too much lately. Ick how I feel about this revelation, tbh. I finished a suicide note and folded it into my wallet on the bus ride back onto base after a weekend of binge drinking on the beach to avoid every person I could. When I got back to the barracks, I looked at my rack mate and told him exactly what I wrote down in that note, and instead of making things worse, he genuinely helped me and reminded me that not every Marine is meant to do a full term. Sometimes things just don't go as planned, and it's okay to take the DD-214 early, even if it will disappoint your family. We still talk around the holidays every year. Edit. Thank you for the award. I have never received one on Reddit to my knowledge. I would also like to add that if anybody reads this, and you feel somewhat lost while in the military, don't be afraid to go to medical and talk about it. It happens unfortunately often where speaking directly to your chain of command will not help things, and word can travel fast. But there is absolutely nothing wrong in seeking help to allow yourself to be the best Marine, or sailor, or whatever title you gave your all to achieve. It's just harder in some units compared to others. That's awesome of them, glad you two keep in touch. It is, and I am very thankful. The only downside is that you no longer get free, government-supplied crayons. Hope you're eating well. But on a serious note, I am glad you're still here. That's my first award ever. Thank ya, Reddit. The greens taste the best. All that held me back was the feeling of guilt for how my family would feel. I couldn't do it to them. I used to think, I can't do it because my parents would be crushed. Eventually, even that wasn't enough. I found a thread on Reddit that was nothing but comments and stories from people whose loved one committed suicide. That did it for me. I sobbed because it took this ambiguous notion of it would hurt mom and dad and turned it into something more concrete. Instead of just knowing they'd be upset, the thread helped me see how it would affect them in the long term. I turned to that thread several times over a 2-year period. I haven't had to read in a long time, but I think that thread did help save my life. I'll have to search for it when I get home and share the link. Edit. Looks like user Quinn found it for us before I got home. For anyone who's curious, this is the thread I am talking about. It helped me a lot, though your mileage may vary. I imagine plenty of people might find it more upsetting than helpful. Edit 2. I have gotten a ton of messages and replies from people thanking me for sharing the link and saying they're struggling with suicidal thoughts and ideation. I want to add something for those of you who are in the spot I was once in. You know that stupid saying, it gets better. Well, it really does get better. I was diagnosed with PTSD and severe chronic depression and anxiety in my 20s, and I was suicidal for several years. I finally got help. It wasn't a quick and easy fix, it literally took years and lots of work, but the important thing is that getting help was the turning point. I have put my life back together, and I am doing really well. And although I do sometimes slip back into severe depressive episodes, just climbed out of one, in fact, I can remind myself, I have got this. I have beat it before and I know I can do it again, even if it feels like I can't. I could use the link. Edit. Wow, I appreciate all of the responses. I am not in a dangerous spot. I have just been getting the ideation stuff a lot more lately. In the past, I have found it helpful to read experiences from survivors of loved ones who committed suicide. Thanks for all the kind words, everyone. And the chat requests. If you can use someone to talk to as well, send me a DM. You are a fabulous person. Same, please ping me if he posts it. I need it too. Web address. Posting a link to the possible thread. Didn't see it anywhere. My brother killed himself in December. Yesterday was his birthday. I am trying really hard to just get through this weekend. I fucking miss him so much. I am so sorry to hear about the pain his absence has given you. It does get easier as time goes on. I promise. Yeah, pretty much this. My grandfather killed himself after 4 years without my grandmother. I could see how much it wore on him every time we saw him, but my parents were devastated. All I could think to myself is how much of a relief for him to not wake up wondering where his wife of 57 years was. At the same time, I was aware of what it did to my parents, and what it would do to my parents if I followed suit. I also realized that I had never felt such deep emotion on anything the way he did with that loss. All I feel is numb most of the time. This is a major fear of mine. Losing my wife. Been married 10 years and every year we grow closer together. Sometimes it feels like she is the only one who is real. If that makes sense. I see these couples together for 50 years, and I am terrified of losing her after all that time. I don't know how I would handle it. Today is my 6th wedding anniversary, and my husband died 5 years 8 months ago. We were together for 10 years. We had no idea he was sick until about a week after our honeymoon, and it was stage 4 cancer, and there was nothing we could do. He died 6 weeks after being told something didn't seem right. I thought I would die without him, and when he died here at home, I wanted to go with him because I didn't want him to be alone. I cried almost non-stop for 3 years. I wanted to be dead. Not kill myself but not be here anymore. Then I had a heart attack and the DR told me they could fix it, and I was left to decide. I had the surgery, and I have been a lot better the last 2 years. Today being my anniversary is a bitter pill, but at least we were able to legally marry. I haven't dated at all and don't expect to. I have started to think of this too. My husband and I have been together for almost 22 years. He's the only person I ever want to marry, and the thought of being without him is soul-crushing. He's my best friend and greatest person I have ever known. He's so patient with me. Off, hitting me hard. May you and your wife live a long, happy life. My grandfather hung on for 10 years after my grandma died. Finally, the loneliness just was too much and he told us he was going to stop taking the heart meds that had kept him alive for 50 years. He had a heart attack as a young man. I miss him very much, but I almost don't consider his death a suicide. He just missed my grandma and his health was failing, and he went on his own terms. My brother's suicide, on the other hand, brought me and my family to our knees, and we won't ever fully recover. I would not wish that pain on my worst enemy. Thanks for making me cry. I hope I end up living a love as powerful as your grandpa had for her. Yeah, it was my little sister. Thinking about how much it would hurt her held me back. A decade after my last suicidal ideation, I told her. We had a great sibling moment, then her infant started crying. And then her infant started crying. Actually, a very beautiful ending to that scene. Yeah, I thought so too. It's just part of my memory of that moment. I love my sister. I think I talk to her more now at 35 than I did when we lived together as teenagers. I loved her then in my own teen angst way, but now I am happy to show it. My mother and stepfather didn't deserve it, they love me so much. The thought that any of my students might look at my design and choose to follow in my footsteps. I could accept my own death, but I couldn't stand the idea of theirs. When I was in 6th grade, my science teacher committed suicide. It scarred me. I promised to myself to never kill myself because I didn't want anyone to feel the pain I felt on that day when they announced this to everyone. My 7th grade geography teacher committed suicide. He was so congenial, almost robotically friendly, and our whole inner-city public school class walked all over his authority, not in the sense of being mean to him, but of not listening, not paying attention, everyone out of their seats socializing, general chaos. One day near the end of the year he completely snapped, and started cussing us out up and down. We were all in disbelief and shock. A few months later we found out he killed himself. Left a family behind. At the funeral his wife said he had always struggled with mental health issues. It was really heartbreaking. Edit clarifying the walked all over part. As a teacher, it's hard to accept that sometimes being nice allows us to be mistreated as people see it as a sign of weakness. Yeah. As an adult now, I worked as a teacher for 3 years. It was gratifying but one of the most mentally and emotionally exhausting jobs. It takes so much balancing finding where to be open for helping your students, and where to draw your boundaries. My only trick, and I have been teaching a while now, is to get the student behaving badly and speak to them one-on-one and ask them about their behavior. Usually on their own, they are quite reasonable, and they only play up if there's a crowd. Yep. As a teacher, this is the only way. I would send a kid completely out of class. One-on-one is a game changer. Yes. Don't confuse kindness with weakness. My business teacher killed himself my junior year. Very sad. And they couldn't stand the idea yours. I needed to read that. Thank you. Imagine if we cared for ourselves the way we care for others. At what point does one lose faith in oneself? Shame plays a really insidious part in our own self-worth. If you feel shame for something you did, and people disowned you for it, literally walked away from you on the playground, and no one would accept you into your friend group, and you ate lunch in the hallway with a girl you didn't really know but were just as much in the out crowd as she was, you tend to think that you really should be ashamed of yourself, and that you shouldn't trust yourself, and that you're probably worthless to other people, and the thought of continuing on to hate yourself for the rest of your life, not being able to get past your past, is exhausting. It's trapping. And you've tried therapy and meds and more, and it still won't go away. That's when you lose faith in yourself. I see and feel you. The good news is I am okay now. I would even say my depression is in remission. It's pretty amazing on the other side, and having a reference point to understand what I was missing while I was depressed is incredible. I just want to tell everyone that there is another side, that you can find and physically feel joy and seek it endlessly. That you are worthy of your own self-acceptance and your love. Every single part of yourself. Everything you have experienced has led you to right now, and those made you into who you are. You are good. You deserve your own love. Until you heal your relationship with yourself, though, it won't break through. Find traumas that you used to make assumptions about yourself and tear those constructs down. You are not, at your core, bad. You are human. You are okay. Keep going. My college psychology professor was terminally ill. The kind of dying that goes real slow and takes away your agency and dignity. He was my favorite teacher in the world. Such a funny, brilliant old man. He gave me my interest for psych. He made me want to help people. A semester after I had taken another class of his, he ended up going to a gun range and killing himself. My parents somehow managed to hide this from me for 3 years, until my intro to psychopathology teacher let it slip how he died. I was talking to her about him because this class had been started and taught only by him. They said I was already in a really rough place, and they didn't want his death to push me further. I wish we just had assisted suicide. The terminally ill should be allowed to go out on their terms, on their schedule, without the hell of suffering needlessly for weeks or months. I believe they do in some states, just not one I live in. I agree with you. I watched my own grandfather turn from a hands-on do-it-yourself salt-of-the-earth kind of dude into a 120 pounds flesh-covered skeleton comatose on a hospital bed because the cancer took his brain. The man rode motorcycles and raced cars. He worked in a factory most of his life, and was the caretaker of his local church. He didn't even remember who I was the last time I spoke to him. He called me my mother's name. He should have been given the option. He probably would have been too proud to take it knowing him. He still should have had the choice. I remember reading somewhere where someone was suicidal in a forum saying they were going later that day or something, and everyone was talking about it, and someone replied something along the lines of, Why don't you just go? I have always wondered this about people who are suicidal. If you're really done, then why don't you leave everything behind? Start walking in a direction and just go. It doesn't matter where you end up or if you get killed along the way, because that's what you were trying to do anyway. Something about that really resonated with me. Those of us with nothing to lose have everything to gain from this world. The quote that resonated with me, although never suicidal, was, "Do you want to end your life, or end the life you're living as you know it? You can go anywhere. Be anything or anyone. Any outcome has the potential to be better than the original intended plan." Stubbornness. When I was in middle and high school, the first time I was suicidal, I thought I wouldn't make it to 25. When I got out of that, I decided I was going to make it to 25, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. I am 25 now, but I made it this far. If the mental illness wants me dead so badly it needs to shut down my organs and kill me its damn self, because I am not going anywhere. Also, my pets. I don't want to be without my pets. They were the only things that made me happy, and even when I didn't feel like anyone else loved me, I knew they did. That's inspiring AF. If the mental illness wants me dead so badly it needs to shut down my organs and kill me its damn self, because I am not going anywhere. This feels like something Cave Johnson would say. Hot damn, that's badass. I may take some inspiration from your view on this. I can always kill myself, so why not keep pushing just another day? I used to say that when I was getting clean, every single day for over a year. I'd say, I am getting high tomorrow. 11 years clean now. You absolute madlad, you procrastinated your way to freedom. Serious props to you. HA. You're right, I hadn't thought of it like that. Who knew one of my faults would save my life? Lessons still to be had here. Thank you. Glad you're here. Edit. Oh my Lanta, thank you for the reward. I just want all of us to be here. I am going through a rough patch myself. Also, I am certain Pax's murderer is dead. Orlando, I believe, was the name. Wow, that is amazing. Somehow it makes me feel proud of you. I know, doesn't make sense as I had no part in it, and we're not related, but I feel some proud sensation. You're very kind. You hit me in the feels too. My daughter's name is Bailey. You just never know how or why you might touch someone. I have been on this thread for 5 minutes, and this is what made me cry. Congrats on becoming clean, and having a daughter. I am also proud of you. Procrastination gang. Thank you. That made me chuckle. Right. You've got eternity to be dead. Why not just wait? I literally say this all the time. I am saying it right now. Me too. Ah yes, the Griff phenomenon. Procrastination 100. To add to this, I would set a date for an event I was looking forward to. For example, Season 2 of X show or Book 2 of Trilogy won't be released till January 2021, so I'll agree to do that and then kill myself. More often than not, there was another thing to wait for by the time I got to that date. I did this for a few years and am now glad that I am alive today. Mine is similar. I can always kill myself later, so if I am ready to do it now, why not instead quit my job, move to a different city, and try over? If that doesn't work out, I am no worse off than dead. I had the same thought while sobbing at tying a knot around my neck. If nothing really mattered, why wouldn't I just max out a credit card and move somewhere new? Worst case scenario, my old friends wouldn't find me. That was 8 years ago, and I feel like my life is absolutely beautiful now. These kind of thoughts can start when you're really young. People often have the misconception that really young kids can't feel suicidal, but in reality suicidal ideation can happen to anyone based on their situation. I remember thinking these thoughts when I was around 10 or 11, because of some scary health problems I faced. I felt there was no hope for me, and that put me in some deep depression at a young age. It is literally this very thought that's kept me alive all this time, just live to see what happens. As someone who's suffered from depression for 11 years now, has been increasingly suicidal this last year, and has spoken to so many people trying to seek help, and have tried numerous different things to improve my mental health, I haven't yet heard this phrase, and I think I really needed to. Good night, Wesley. Good work. Sleep well. I'll most likely kill you in the morning. How dread Pirate Roberts of you. Sleep well. I'll most likely kill you in the morning. This should probably be tagged serious. Feck, I forgot, but let's see. Are you Irish? Feck is a very Irish saying. Feck is the perfect balance of being able to swear but not piss off your mother in the process. The rest of the world should really pick up on it. I couldn't leave my dog. Same. I remember looking at him in my darkest moment, and he changed everything. Me too. My dog depends on me, and even though I sometimes don't think much about my own life, I love her too much to leave her defenseless and emotionally scarred. And this is one reason why taking care of a dog is honestly great therapy for people with depression. When you're too sad to leave your bed, you still need to get up to let them potty and get them food. I was standing on a bridge over the Mississippi River in Minneapolis with the intention to jump, and I took about 5 minutes to look over the edge and decide whether to land on the water or concrete slab 30 feet or so below. Then the thought crossed my mind to walk to the other side of the bridge and think about it on the way back. So I walked, then walked past where I was standing, and back to my car. When I got back into my car, I burst into tears. Ugly, crying, screaming, hitting my steering wheel, the works. I was 3 steps from being dead. One onto the concrete, one over the rail, and the last off the edge. That was the lowest I had ever sunk. I think what kept me going was the thought of lost potential. I was working a monotonous job that didn't challenge me, had no friends, and had so much love to give to someone who I hadn't met yet. I didn't want to lose any of that, so I devoted my life moving forward to growth and challenging myself. Now, 2 years and 1 month later, I have my own house, a loving girlfriend, a fun and challenging job, and am in the best mental state of my life. I am glad I didn't jump. The thought that killing myself meant those who didn't believe in me won. So I refused to die, out of spite. Watch me live and succeed in life, now. Edit. Thanks for the very kind and very fake unkind words, it was lovely, and the awards, what a ride. A few things I'd like to add. 1. I am an angry woman. 2. Camus resonates with me, yes, have read him extensively. Chill dude. 3. Some lives do not have positive emotions, and we make do with what we have. 4. It is always worth it to rub your success in trashy people's faces. Stay alive for arrogance. Thank you. This is pretty much what I did. My mother, who had full custody of me at the time, openly hated me and frequently told me to just kill myself and get it over with. I pushed onward out of spite because I didn't want her to have the satisfaction while I was living there. Shortly after leaving, I got pregnant with my daughter, so the thought of my god-awful family, or horrible ex, and his family getting custody and raising her kept me alive while I went through therapy to handle my baggage. Reminds me of my favorite quote. The best revenge is massive success, Frank Sinatra. Honestly, spite is one of my main motivators. I am not letting all the people who thought I wasn't good enough win. I fully planned to kill myself until I wrote a song in G minor. And it was really, really beautiful. And I wanted to see if anything else that beautiful was in me. In retrospect, it was a really pretentious, angsty piece of crap, but it saved my life. Got anything new that you've created? Sure, since then I have put out 3 albums. Well, don't leave us with the suspense. Where can we listen to them? Okay, I don't want to feel like a self-promoter or anything, but if you want to listen to the last thing I wrote, it's here. Web address. This is really good. Thank you. I try. You've got talent. Keep it up. Creating something is a great way to keep oneself out of those dark places, or at least make the stay bearable. I have been writing poetry to keep myself focused. I hope you keep writing. This random stranger believes in your talent. I don't listen to a lot of music, but this is actually really good. I downloaded it on Amazon Music. It's not crap if it helped you, remember that. My cat. Same. When I thought I had nothing else, the thought of not knowing who would look after her when I was dead kept me going. She died this year. I miss her so much. Same. It is important for me to have a cat, or I just lose it. I have a cat named Zoe, and she's wonderful. She always knows when I need her and comes for cuddles. If she thinks someone is hurting me, she defends me fiercely. She gets anxious if I am gone from her too long too. She's amazing and defies many typical cat stereotypes. Music really helps. Not even to make you feel better, but to know your emotions are shared by others. You're never alone, really. I started watching Red Dwarf when I was younger. I honestly planned on ending everything, but it was so funny and interesting I wanted to finish the whole series. I honestly believe it saved my life and took my mind away from the dark thoughts even for just 1 hour a day. When I was a teenager, I had bad problems with depression and anxiety that led to very self-destructive behavior. There were many times I imagined killing myself, and one night I was set on doing it. Came home drunk and sad and started cutting myself, which was one of my methods for dealing with my emotions. I sat in my bed crying, trying to find the courage to cut deeper and end it. Then my dog Snoopy hopped up on the bed and put his head on my lap. Thanks to him doing that, I realized that I just couldn't do that to him or to my parents and friends. He saved my life that night. The next day I decided to open up to my parents and ask them to help me find some help, which was a huge step forward. Starting seeing a therapist, and she really helped me work through a lot of things. Still struggle a bit sometimes, but I am able to manage thanks to the help I received, and I credit that little lovable mutt for me being around today. Edit. Snoopy was there by my side for almost 17 years. Here is the very first picture of us together, and here is the last a couple of days before he passed. Also here is a shitty tattoo of a caricature of him that I gave myself when I was drunk shortly after he died. So whenever things are feeling tough, I can look down and smile at that goofy face and remember him. Well done, Snoopy, and well done you. That's one hell of a dog. Glad you're getting help and feeling better. A dog is definitely man's best friend. My dog, he was the only one who cared when I cried, and when my parents would scream at me. Truly, man's best friend. After my second attempt, I spent 2 weeks in hospital. They fed me coal. For 2 fucking weeks I shit black and nurses cleaned up my shit. I killed myself, but only the part that I hate. I killed everything I hate about me, cleaned the toxic PPL around me. One day, I just said to myself, no, you won't go anywhere like this. You will have what you deserve, and if they don't give it to you, you will fucking take it. You will quit smoking, begin sports, get mental and physical strength. You won't just be nice and wait PPL to give it to you anymore. You will fucking take it. So it was my anger, it saved me actually. When you're so angry that you fix your life. What do you mean they fed you coal? Is that actually a thing? So many questions. Charcoal is an emetic, i.e., makes you puke. I am assuming this is what was meant here. It also absorbs. Knowing that I would put my family through the same hell my father put us under. This is exactly what I think of. I lost my father to suicide. I can't bear the thought of my mother going through this shit again. My kids. Edit. Stay strong, friends. Our kids need us now more than ever. Reach out if you need someone to listen. I start work at 11 p.m. CST, Saturday to Tuesday. I was looking for this answer because it's mine too. Edit. Like user Alabaster Williams, I am here if you need someone to vent to. I also offer advice, as a separate service, also free of charge. Telling myself to suck it up and get on with it, because I have a job to do and a responsibility to the people around me. Sounds counterintuitive, but it became really motivating for me. I think a lot of my feeling depressed came from feeling useless and out of control. So when I realized I had a responsibility to make a contribution to the world and to not let other people down, it became empowering and flipped things around for me. Things still get tough, but I keep the same mindset. My favorite quote from Litter. Frodo. I wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened. Gandalf. So do all who live see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what we do with the time that's given to us. I think a lot of people have experienced this. A sense of purpose is critical for the adult brain once the childhood honeymoon ends. Wow. You are still with us. Thanks for being such a nice person. As long as you are here, why not like this video and subscribe to our channel? Also, you can press the bell icon, so you won't miss any future uploads.